Quick slide.
Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Hari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Oh my Lord, the all-pervading personality of God, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Nashta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shlokir bhaktir bhavati naishtikihi. By regular attendance of classes on Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer services. The heart is almost completely destroyed. Loving service to the personality of God, which prays with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Nam namaskritya nityam saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye. It's a very means of conquest. One should offer a respectful person to the Godhead. Narayan Rishi, supermost human being. Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva. Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatam Maham Vande Shri Guru Dinatharanam. Fallen souls. Mountains. Hare Krishna. We'll seek blessings from Srila Prabhupada and from all of you to actually read these verses together today. I was just informed now that we're doing this. Never mind. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatharine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're reading chapter 19. Not 9. Oh, okay. The screen is stuck. Canto 1, chapter 19, the appearance of Shukadev Goswami. This is actually one of the most pivotal. This is the inception of Bhagavatam, this chapter. Because here's an entry of Srila Shukadev Goswami. the original person who spoke Bhagavatam, of course, on behalf of Krishna himself. And the verse that we'll focus on today is it's a milestone verse. Like, things change from here because Shukadeva Goswami enters. Like a South Indian or Bollywood movie, so much in style. I honestly cannot do justice to this, so if any of our friends here would like to help me, we'll get to it. But we're reading from text 1 to 25, and then we'll expand on 25 whenever the Screen Prabhu allows us. Screen Prabhu, given permission. Screen Prabhu ki jai.
Goswami said, while returning home, the king Maharaj Parikshit felt that the act he had committed against the faultless and powerful Brahmana was heinous and uncivilized. Consequently, he was distressed.
King Parikshit replies, due to my neglecting the injunctions of the Supreme Lord, I must certainly expect some difficulty to overcome in the near future. I now desire without reservation that the calamity come now, for in this way I may be freed of the sinful action and not commit such an offense again.
I am still uncivilized and sinful due to my neglect of Brahmanical culture, God consciousness and production. Therefore, I wish that my kingdom, strength, and riches burn up immediately by the fire of the Brahmana's breath, so that in the future I may not be guided by such inauspicious attitudes.
While the king was thus repenting, he received news of his imminent death, which would be due to the bite of a snake bird, occasioned by the curse spoken by the sage's son. The king accepted this as good news, for it would be the cause of his indifference toward worldly things.
Maharaj Parikshit sat down firmly on the banks of Ganges to concentrate his mind in Krishna consciousness, rejecting all other practices of self-devotion, because sentiment loving service to Krishna is the greatest achievement, superseding all other methods.
Text 6. The river by which the king sanctifies carries the most auspicious water, which is mixed with the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord and tulsi leaves. Therefore, that water sanctifies the three worlds inside and outside, and even sanctifies Lord Shiva and other demigods. Consequently, everyone who is this vanity died must take shelter of this river.
Text 7. Thus the king, the worthy descendant of the Pandavas, decided once and for all and sat on the Ganges bank to fast until death and give himself up to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, who alone is able to avoid liberation. So, freeing himself from all kinds of associations and attachments, he accepted the vows of a sage.
At that time, all the great minds and thinkers, accompanied by their disciples, the sages who would verily sanctify a place of pilgrimage, just by their presence, arrived there on the plea of making a pilgrim's journey.
From different parts of the universe, there arrive great sages like Atri, Chyavana, Sharadvana, Arishtanemi, Dhrigu, Vasishtha, Parashara, Vishwamitra, Angira, Parashurama, Udataya, Indra-Pramada, Idmavahu, Medhatithi, Devala, Artishena, Bharadwaja, Gautama, Pipalada, Maitreya, Aurava, Kavasha, Kumbhayoni, Dvayapayana, and the greatest personality, Narada.
There were also many other saintly demigods, kings, and special royal orders, called Arunadayas, the special rank of Ridarshis, from different dynasties of sages. Then they all assembled together to meet the Emperor Parikshit. He received them properly and bowed his head to the ground.
After all the rishis and others had seated themselves comfortably, the king, humbly standing before them with folded hands, told them of his decision to fast until death.
The fortunate king said, "Indeed, we are the most grateful of all the kings who are trained to get favors from the great souls. Generally, you, sages consider royalty as refused to be rejected and runs in a distant place.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the controller of both the transcendental and mundane worlds, has graciously worked in me in the form of Brahmana's curse. Due to my being too much attached to family life, the Lord, in order to save me, has appeared before me in such a way that only out of fear I will detach myself from the world.
O Brahmanas, just accept me as a completely surrendered soul, and let Mother Ganges, the representative of the Lord, also accept me in that way, for I have already taken the lotus feet of the Lord into my heart. Let the snake bird, or whatever magical thing the Brahmanas created, bite me at once. I only desire that you all continue singing the deeds of Lord Vishnu.
In this verse, Maharaj Parikshit, who's been cursed to die, he's looking at the curse itself as a blessing. I just want you to note that, because we go through tough situations thinking, oh, what has happened, and the pain is justified, but look at what this guy is trying to do here. Please read further.
Text 16. Again, offering obeisances unto all you Brahmanas, I pray that if I should again take my birth in the material world, I will have complete attachment to the unlimited Lord Krishna, association with his devotees, and friendly relations with all living beings.
In perfect self-control, Maharaj Krishna sat down on a seat of straw, with straw roofs facing the east, placed on the southern bank of the Ganges, and he himself faced the north. Just previously he had given charge of his kingdom over to his son.
Thus the king Maharaj Parikshit sat to fast until death, while the demigods of the higher planets praised the king's actions, and in pleasure continuously scattered flowers over the earth and beads lesson drums.
All the great sages who assembled there also praised the decision of Maharaj Parikshit, and they expressed their approval by saying, very good. Naturally, the sages are inclined to do good to common man, for they have all the qualitative powers of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they were very much pleased to see Maharaj Parikshit, the devotee of the Lord, and they spoke as follows.
The sages said, O chief of all the saintly kings of the Pandu dynasty, who are strictly in the line of Lord Shri Krishna, it is not at all astonishing that you give up your throne, which is decorated with the helmets of many kings, to achieve eternal association with the personality of one.
We shall all wait here until the foremost devotee of the Lord, Maharaj Parikshit, returns to the supreme planet, which is completely free from all mundane contamination and all kinds of lamentation.
All that was spoken by the great sages was very sweet to hear, full of meaning and appropriately presented as perfectly true. So after hearing their Maharaj Parikshit, desiring to hear of the activities of Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead congratulated the great
25.
The king said, O great sages, you have all very kindly assembled here, having come from all parts of the universe. You are all as good as supreme knowledge personified, who resides in the planet above the three worlds, Satyaloka. Consequently, you are naturally inclined to do good to others, and but for this you have no interest either in this life or in the next.
Text 24. O trustworthy Brahmanas, I now ask you about my immediate duty. Please, after proper deliberation, tell me of the unalloyed duty of everyone in all circumstances, and specifically of those who are just about to die.
At that moment there appeared a powerful son of Janpay, who traveled over the earth disinterested and satisfied with himself. He did not manifest any symptoms of belonging to any social order or status of life. He was surrounded with women and children, and he dressed as if others had neglected him.
Yeah. We're expanding on 25th verse, the last one we read. Tatra bhavad bhagavan vyasaputro
Tatra bhavad Bhagavan Vyasaputro
Yadrichaya gamatmano napekshaha Alakshalingo nijlabhatushto Vritascha bale ravadhuta veshaha
तत्र भवाद् भगवान् व्यासपुत्रो अलक्ष्यलिङ्गो निजलाभतुष्टो
Vritascha bale avadhuta veshaha Tatra bhavad bhagavan vyasaputro
Yadruchayagam atmano napeksha
Yadrichaya gamatmano napekshaha Alakshalingo nijalabhatushto Vritascha bale avadhuta veshaha Tatra bhavad bhagavan vyasaputro Yadrichagam atmano napeksha Alakshalingo nijalabhatushto Vritascha bale avadhuta veshaha. Synonyms together. Tatra, there, bhavad, appear. Bhagavan, powerful. Vyasaputra, son of Vyasa. Yadrichya, as one desires. Gam, the earth. Atmanaha, while traveling. Napekshaha, disinterested. Alakshya, unmanifested. Linga, symptoms. Nijala, self-realized. Tushta, satisfied. Vritha, surrounded. Cha, and. Balehe, children. Vadhut, neglected by others. Vesha, dressed. Translation, purport by Srila Prabhupada. Translation together. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation together. At that moment, there appeared the powerful son of Vyasadeva, who traveled over the earth, disinterested and satisfied with himself. He did not manifest any symptoms of belonging to any social order or status of life. He was surrounded with women and children, and he dressed as if others had neglected him. Purport. The word Bhagavan is sometimes used in relation with some of the great devotees of the Lord, like Shukdev Goswami. Such liberated souls are disinterested in the affairs of this material world because they are self-satisfied by the great achievements of devotional service. As explained before, Shukdev Goswami never accepted any formal spiritual master, nor did he undergo any formal reformatory performances. His father Vyasadeva was his natural spiritual master because Shukdev Goswami heard Srimad Bhagavatam from him. After this, he became completely self-satisfied. Thus, he was not dependent on any formal process. The formal processes are necessary for those who are expected to reach the stage of complete liberation. But Sri Sukadev Goswami was already in that status by the grace of his father. As a young boy, he was expected to be properly dressed, but he went about naked and was uninterested in social customs. He was neglected by the general populace, and inquisitive boys and women surrounded him as if he were a madman. He thus appears on the scene while traveling on the earth of his own accord. It appears that upon the inquiry of Maharaj Parikshit, the great sages were not unanimous in their decision as to what was to be done. For spiritual salvation, there were many prescriptions according to different modes of different persons. But the ultimate aim of life is to attain the highest perfectional stage of devotional service to the Lord. As doctors differ, so also sages differ in their different prescriptions. While such things were going on, the great and powerful son of Vyasadeva appeared on the scene. So here actually there are so many little snippets that we can actually learn a lot from. I thought, what would I say? But we probably won't have enough time now. But out of many things which are come into my teeny mind, there's one thing which is standing out the most that I want to center, or a few things rather, are little discussion around. If we read the translation, it starts with, at that moment there appeared the powerful son of Vyasadeva. What is so significant about this few words in the beginning, at that moment? They could not have been added. What is the big deal after all? But little details express big sentiments. What do you think? Why is it mentioned here? At that moment. Why only at that moment? Like, what is the catch here? Yes, Prabhu.
Because in text 24, Maharaj Parikshit has asked, tell me something that everybody should do,
Yes.
especially at the time of their death. I personally think that it's addition to that, at that moment, there appeared the powerful son of Vyasadeva.
Precisely. Thank you. Sounds like a Bollywood movie. When will my sons return and sons enter on a jeep or whatever. But if you really look at it, and there are these questions that people around the world who are even remotely inclined towards spirituality, then they go through that. How will I find my guru? How will I find a guide? How will I find a mentor? This is not just for those who are heavily inclined into spirituality. For anyone who wants to genuinely do something other than just enjoy false pleasures of life, they seek guidance. That is the way to go about it, whether it's corporate or whatever. So even if one has to properly learn a skill or something, and if they are sincere, they seek out for genuine help. When we're trying to understand about the very basis of our existence, why do we exist? Where are we going after this? Does even death exist? Such profound questions of our own existence. Then is there not a need for a guru? So the verse itself communicates that when a disciple calls out genuinely, the guru appears at that moment. At the same time, Srila Prabhupada expands in the purport that not everyone need to have even a formal process or a guru. But that's of course difference. That's not for everyone. But what I'm trying to say is, one key takeaway over here is, as all the sages were discussing so many things about how Maharaj Parikshit, he can spend his last few days and attain to different stages of liberation. Only when Maharaj Parikshit had this burning question in him and he genuinely asked, did the Guru appear here? So that burning in the heart is important. In the run-up to trying to find your spiritual master, we go through many texts, places. Some people go to different places, even like physical places. Now we have internet, so we think like we have to watch different videos to find a guru out. Which is why not? If we're living in that paradigm, then that could be a means for the guru to manifest to you. Why not? But what we're trying to say is that even if you look at the variety of all these different sages who were present, some of them belong to many different types of tradition. It is mentioned in the translations and purports that we read, that as doctors are of different type, their prescriptions are of different type. So Maharaj Parikshit was getting many advices at that time from different sages, and all of them are like really advanced in their spiritual path. He could have chosen many things, but only when a genuine question in his heart arose, whatever was best for him entered automatically. We can create this, we can equate this or compare this rather with a similar situation that we read a few weeks back. Do you remember? Who can recall? There was a similar situation. Another personality from another pastime of Lord Krishna was going through a similar situation. And then he took up to some spiritual process to leave his body. Yes. King Dhritarashtra. I'm purposely not calling him Maharaj Dhritarashtra. I have nothing against him, but Maharaj is more respectful. Use it for gurus. Having said that, Dhritarashtra was playing his own part in the game, so nothing against him, but King Dhritarashtra, Maharaj Dhritarashtra, he in his last days, when he got into his senses through pure devotee Vidura's prescription, then he also took up to some spiritual process to spend his last days with. But we read in Bhagavatam that it was impersonal, the process that he took up and he merged into the Brahman form of Lord, or rather not a form, but effulgence of the Lord. So there he took instructions and he followed it. That is also good. That's not bad. Being stuck in the Makhiji, being stuck in the cycles of flies here to hear Bhagavatam today, which is wonderful. We can pray for Makhiji's elevation after we get our own. But do you see that he got instructions from a pure devotee and he followed it and he achieved to some perfection. Here, Maharaj Parikshit could have also done it. So that is also good. Simply following instructions. We can get instructions from people here all the time living in a temple. Even some of those who may not be supremely advanced, but because they have experience working with people, they think that they can tell people things. And by all means, everyone can tell people everything. Even I do. So how do you decide? You listen to advices. But that question from your heart, like what do I do? That is the key. That gets you to the highest. If I share a little anecdote from my journey when I was practicing all Ashtanga yoga and different forms of meditation for spiritual elevation, and it was working in the sense that it was producing results that was promised. So I can't even say it's false. I was experiencing meditation. But somehow due to some mercy, maybe because I was loyal into Lord Ram and even Lord Shiva, of course, my heart on one corner was saying, even though this is working, but what should I really be doing? Which sounds contradictory. It was still calling out to something all the time. And through some means, I landed up to the Mahamantra chanting. So that question in the heart should always go on. You take advices, you take mentorship and guidances, and you must take them. It's important. Maharaj Parikshit is taking it. King Dhritarashtra took it. But at the same time, if your heart is not burning with this, that what do I really do? Then how can a guru really guide you? A true, genuine guru who can get you to devotional service and then establish and strengthen your relationship with the devotional service process. Because we've known this in the classes here that there are three ways that Krishna manifests himself as a guru in our life. First is that he establishes a sambandha. And then secondly, he establishes or deepens up a relationship. What is that called? Prayojana, I think. I don't know if you remember. But the third one is ultimately that he totally lets you in to the fold as Gopinath. So as Madan Mohan, as Govind Devji, and as Gopinath, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela describes this also, is that Lord Shri Krishna manifests himself as Guru in our life. So, Prayojana, Sambandha is very important, the first step when we establish a connection. It happens through Diksha, it can happen through Shiksha also, of course. But what about relationship building? So everything is important. So taking advices is important. But at the end of the day, is Gopinath the third one, third manifestation. Gopinath is the Nath of gopis. And gopis were not really taking instructions. We must. But their heart was craving for Krishna. That is what I'm trying to tell you, is what the Bhagavatam is also trying to apparently tell us. That having that question come up is also important. Maharaj Parikshit is taking all the advices. I'm repeating it. But his heart is still saying that, okay, what really do I want? What really do I need to do? And one can even feel like if their heart is calling out for more or asking this question, and if they even have a Diksha Guru, Sambandha, so am I not sheltered enough on my Guru that I still have this question in my heart, what should I do? Well, the answer could be both yes and no. It could be a sign of not having enough faith, which is fine because it builds over time. But it could also be just a natural process. And it's not speculation because we're noticing over here that and we just noticed the name of rishis who were present, right? I think even Devarshi Narad was present. Was his name in the list of sages who were present? Huh? He was present. But still Maharaj Parikshit had a question burning in his heart. So are we to say that Maharaj Parikshit is not sheltered enough to the sages like Narad Muni here? Please confirm if you know, but I think Lord Shiva was present too. I think I've heard. Lord Shiva is present there. Vaishnavanam. Param Vaishnava. Yatha Shambho. Whose very existence Every moment is dedicated to Krishna. Even in his presence, in Narad Muni's presence, if this question is still arising into Maharaj Parikshit's heart, that what should I really do? And even if you have your sambandha established, you have your Diksha Guru, Shiksha Gurus, and if still your heart keep on calling out for more and more, that means that it's only natural. Because Gopinath is still there in your journey, the Lord of Gopis, and Gopis do call out to Krishna moment to moment. Which page am I now? So, Maharaj Parikshit is amazing because he is describing a perfect disciple here through his embodiment of those qualities. Listening, yet inquiring, yet being open, and yet calling out from his heart. But how will your heart really call out, you tell me, if you are full of so many distractions all the time? Some people's, in some moments when they take darshan, when they visit dham, when they go to difficult opportunities, their heart really calls out like Maharaj Parikshit is. But most times our heart doesn't really call out. So what is the reason that why only few moments does it come up and others it doesn't? Is because what is the situation Maharaj Parikshit is in? That he has very much, he's in face to face with the mortal reality of his mortal existence. With the temporary reality. He knows he has only those many days to live now. So he's very aware that this life is not permanent. And he knows he doesn't possess anything. He had all the riches in the world. He was the king of the world, not just of a city or the continent. And he didn't even take a moment to give it up. Because he genuinely realized that he has no proprietorship over the things he seems to own, that he doesn't really own anything or anyone. Because he was facing that reality face to face, the imminence of death, that this time is limited, it's not unlimited. Could his heart really call out for what should he do? I hope you're understanding what I'm trying to suggest. So many moments in our life, we go through difficult times and then our heart also calls out to what should we do. You think about it, those are the moments when you've lost someone or something which is important in your life and you really thought that they really belong to you. You thought someone belonged to you, a family member, they passed away. Someone who you think you and they loved you and they're distant. Some situation, or you had a great job but you lost it due to recession or anything, or layovers. Something that you thought you had a proprietorship over, and it disappears from your life. And so you're able to face the imminence of temporaryism or how things are temporary in this world. And then your heart does call out to Krishna, or just it calls outwards. That who am I? Where do I really belong to? Who really belongs to me? And then Maharaj Parikshit is in a similar situation. And at that moment there appeared the powerful son of Vyasadeva. At that moment. So one method, so to speak, could be that you constantly keep on reminding yourself about the things that you have, you don't really have proprietorship over. Then your heart will keep on calling out. But then you really won't be so much functional all the time, because when Maharaj Parikshit has really realized that his time is to leave is soon, and for us it could be soon too, tomorrow morning, who knows. And then could he really rule over his kingdoms? Or should he have really done that? Not really. So a question will come that, how will I even be functional? How will I be a Goshta Nandi? Why should I even go out to people and preach if I know that it's temporary and no one really belongs to me? The answer to that lies, and I noted it before, it's in the verse itself. We see Nijalapatushta, that he was completely satisfied within himself. This is related to a Bhagavad Gita verse, chapter 3rd, 17 verse, which is Yastva atma ratireva syad atma triptascha manavaha atmani evacha santushtas Tasya karyam na vidyate. Santushtas is a word which is very related to labatushta in this verse, where Prabhupada translates that Krishna is saying that who takes pleasure in the self, self-realized, who is satisfied in the self, fully shaded, for him there is no duty. So, for one who has no sense of duty for themselves, and whose heart is genuinely burning with the question of what should I do, then Krishna takes charge. What is Krishna as a charioteer? He's controlling the horses. So he takes charge of the senses, of the mind. And then he drives a devotee. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot to learn from Maharaj Parikshit here. But what about Shukadev Goswami, whose entry is the theme of the verse itself? Because it is described that Shukadev Goswami didn't even take a formal guru, at least not of the life that we know of lifetime that we know of. And at the same time, Srila Prabhupada is saying not everyone may need it. So a word is key here that we can look into. It's avadhuta. There is a certain category of self-realized souls who are avadhuta. There are many categories of sages, as we just saw here. There are Raja Rishis, there are yogis. Lord Shiva is here, Narada is here right now. So we can look at spiritual people into different categories. But there are two prominent ways in which you can find self-realized souls. Avadhutas and Acharyas. And it is not to be said that an Avadhuta cannot be an Acharya or an Acharya cannot be an Avadhuta. Srila Prabhupada is an Acharya to us. But do you really think the rules of Varnashrama apply to him internally and in his connection with Krishna? It doesn't. So he's in Avadhuta also. He's playing the role of an Acharya. Lord Shiva is an ultimate Avadhuta. He lives on the cremation ground with ashes smeared on himself in his pastimes. Of course, in his Kailash, according to Bhagavatam, he smeared sandalwood paste also. So those are different pastimes. But Lord Shiva is an ultimate Avadhut. But he acts as an Acharya. He is the biggest speaker of Bhagavatam in many manvantras. So these are interconnected. Now, who should you target to be like, an Avadhut or an Acharya? The answer is neither. The answer is Maharaj Parikshit. And when I say you, I'm talking about myself also, of course. Can one aim to be an Avadhut? Someone who doesn't follow social conceptions, even rule of Varnashrama? Not really. You will only try to be someone who is lazy, who's avoiding things, who is a hypocrite. I don't want to attend a morning program because I'm elevated. Well, is it Krishna sitting inside who's holding your senses, who's guiding you to not be there? Or is it just what are you doing when you're not attending the morning program? Are you lying in your bed? Or are you lost in some spiritual bliss in your head, enjoying pastimes with Krishna? So it doesn't take much to think. So the purport has little room for misinterpretation by people, and they cannot say that they don't need a formal process of guru for initiation. People do. Nitya Baddha Jivas, which most people do fall under, which I fall under, they do need formal processes. So seeking Acharya is important, who will give proper structured guidance and instructions to you. And if you do reach to a platform where you don't need Acharya's guidance, maybe an Avadhutas, or you could be an Avadhutas, then it is unsafe to say that you would know. It's better to say that your guru will tell you. And we can learn this from our Acharyas' journeys, and I have some examples here. On how, even if they know they are Acharyas, they're Avadhutas category, they will still wait for their Acharyas, or not even wait. If their Acharya tells them to be in a more Avadhuta way, to not follow norms, then they will follow it. A very prominent guru in our tradition is Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And we know that he displayed Avadhuta-like qualities, where he would even chant near garbage dumpsters and toilets and whatnot to avoid people's attention. And we maintain basic principles of shuchi, that we don't even take our bead bags and our chanting beads in the toilet. And he's spending time there chanting. And those toilets weren't even perhaps as clean as we have today, with Harpic and what do we have in this part of the world? Whatever disinfectants had used. But what I'm trying to say is that he is an avadut, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, but whenever he is giving instruction to his disciple, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he's giving instruction as an acharya, even if it's a one-line instruction. He's not asking Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj to be like an avadut, to not follow rules of Varnashrama. In fact, his dear disciple, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he very much established institutions. He was acting 100% like an acharya, and he was promoting people to be acharya-like, following the prescribed duties, taking up formal processes. So this is not to be confused. Only an elevated being can whose senses are totally in control of Krishna as their charioteer can display such pastimes. Srila Prabhupada would give at limited times some instructions to people to not follow rules also. Like this is a Vedic rule to not take divorces. But there have been instances where Prabhupada could see that if people would not do well in their bhakti with their existing marital setup, he did advise them to part ways. Limitedly, very limitedly and exceptionally. So it's not for us to choose whether or not do we need spiritual processes or guru or not. In fact, we must. Can you think of any other avadut? You can. Who? Nityananda Prabhu is also called Nityananda Avadhut. We know that how he wouldn't care about any rules and regulations. He broke Mahaprabhu's sannyas danda. If anyone breaks a sannyas danda here, they'll be banned. So, Nityananda Prabhu is an avadut. But is he acting as acharyas in many moments? He is. Who has he told anyone to be an avadut like? So, there's this pastime, very briefly, lack of time, where he goes, he's having lunch or he's having food at someone's place, right? His in-laws or something, who's to be in-laws, and then he's supposed to get their daughter as his wife, but then his to-be wife's sister serving them, please correct me if is serving them food, and he's like, I like her too, I want her as my second wife, and he takes both the sisters as his wives. That is a demonstration of, is it demonstration of Vedic culture? Is it a demonstration of an acharya? Or so many things, proper processes. One would think that he's very moody, but that's different. Not only, we can't even say that he has his controls, his senses being controlled by the Lord, because he is the Lord. He is the direct expansion of Krishna. So there is no difference between Balaram and Krishna. So he is the Lord. So that's different, but he's acting as an avadut in this pastime. Was he acting as an avadut as Lakshmana in Sri Ram's pastime? Not really. That was his choice. So if he was needed because Mahaprabhu, Krishna, he wanted to demonstrate through his own actions to the devotees on how to be a proper devotee. So Mahaprabhu was very pakka. He was very strict about norms. If anyone would break norm, if people would come directly to Mahaprabhu, skipping Nityananda Prabhu, Mahaprabhu wouldn't even accept them, because you have to come through a guru to Krishna. Guru Tattva is Nityananda Prabhu. So Krishna, who is so much into pastimes and as himself in Vrindavan Leela, he wouldn't be following norms and rules at all. And this time he decides as Mahaprabhu he wants to follow, to inspire others. Someone has to balance him perhaps. So Balaram is like, okay, I won't. And maybe that was his... There are internal moods, then there are external reasons. I don't want to speculate. But for several reasons, he chose to be an avadut in that Leela. Okay. We can also learn a lot of things, again, coming back to Maharaj Parikshit. Forgive me, Shukadev Goswami. Because here we read from purport, and I quote, as a young boy, he was expected to be properly dressed, but he went about naked and was uninterested in social customs. Are we capable of doing it? not being affected, being naked with men and women. You see, he was neglected by the general populace, and inquisitive boys and women surrounded him as if he were a madman. We actually will read further that he's a boy and a very attractive features he has. We'll read about his features in the coming verses. Beautiful eyes, limbs, bluish, blackish bodily hue, resembling like Krishna. And he's resembling Krishna in quality. That's why he's been described as Bhagavan here in the verse. He's not the Bhagavan. No one else is except for Krishna. But when one attains qualitatively features like Bhagavan, then also they're referred to as Bhagavan in times. That's Shastric. So he's referred to that here. So he's absolutely attractive. But still, women aren't aroused by him in the way that they're aroused by materially attractive men in this situation. So from that we can see that his attraction is transcendental. Very much. Okay, so I'll just summarize. Oh, can you think of another Avadhut-like person who comes in Srimad Bhagavatam? You don't have to go into the stories in detail, but just fun. What do you think?
I'm kind of thinking about how the ways that Shiva was criticized by...
Who was?
Shiva. Lord Shiva was
Okay.
criticized by Daksha because of all of these like unusual habits that he has. Daksha thought that he was inauspicious. Makes me think it's a similar kind of...
So you're saying Lord Shiva, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we mentioned Lord Shiva demonstrate Avadhut-like qualities 100%. Jad Bharat, exactly. That's what I was hoping to hear.
Rishabdev.
Sorry?
Rishabdev.
Lord, as his expansion as Rishabdev, also demonstrated these qualities. There's another person also who comes that is, I think, plenary portion or partly expansion. Dattatreya appears in Bhagavatam, I think, Canto 11. There he's saying, my guru is, he has these, the earth, the sky, a python, a bee, a ocean, everyone's my guru. So we'll read it when we read it under a proper context. Those are also, if they're teaching him something, they're technically his Shiksha or Path Pradaksha gurus, but he demonstrates Avadhut-like qualities. Avadhut is one of my favorite words to ever exist since the last 10 years. Not recently have I come to know of this word. You know, many different traditions use this word differently. And I know many beautiful stories of Avadhutas from different traditions also. There's a lot to learn from. But subjectively, it may not align with what we're trying to do with seva, devotional service. So we don't necessarily go into all that. We have enough examples in our fold to learn from also. But it's personally one of my favorite words. Being a little kid into spirituality, at one point I genuinely thought, could I be an Avadhut once? Because it sounds like such a cool thing. But if there is any value for having more Avadhuts in the world, Krishna will create them. I think there's a lot of value for having many acharyas in the world right now. So Krishna will be creating those foremost. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions, comments, corrections? Yes, Prabhupada.
I really like how you explained the difference between Avadhut and Acharya. That was neat because I think it was in my mind too, like when I saw this verse. It's like, what is an Avadhut? I mean, I've heard it so many times, like this Bhagavad Chandra. Because I come from Maharashtra and then the worship of Dattatreya is very common there. There they call him Avadhuta Chandra as well. So,
Yeah.
so it's like very interesting how you explained it and the correlation between Avadhut and Acharya. So, and especially the last point you mentioned that we need more acharyas in this world right now than Avadhut. I guess makes sense. I mean, Srila Prabhupada also, there's a reason why he emphasized on certain aspects of cleanliness. Like, some people ask, why should you shave? Actually, Prabhupada was very particular about being shaved up, being clean in that way. Because it's all about in the end also presentation and how people initially perceive you, right? Like, and there are many dakshas in this world who may perceive you as Lord Shiva and misinterpret who you are. Right? So in the end of the day, you don't want them to have the same kind of comparison. You want them to represent your values.
Yeah. There's another term mentioned in the verse is Alaksha Lingo. So, where is that? In word to word? Unmanifested symptoms. So he's not manifesting his symptoms of ecstasy. There are many sattvic, what is it called, vikaras?
Yeah.
Sattvic vikaras we read in our texts about symptoms that people demonstrate when they get to pure devotional states within themselves, pure prema states, crying like crazy, walking around, running. Nityananda Prabhu demonstrates it. But here, Shukadev Goswami doesn't demonstrate it. He keeps it unmanifested. So we don't know. Maybe there are many avdutas walking around the earth, but they keep it unmanifested because only if it's Krishna's desire do they choose to manifest it. So that goes to a larger point also of some people think that I want to do raga nuga bhakti. We have people coming here in the temple hall and they say that I don't want to chant every day and not follow proper process. I just want to love Krishna. Thinking that they can directly jump to that platform of raga nuga bhakti, of manifesting the symptoms. Maybe you can. Who knows what Krishna would do with an individual, because it's choice, he's Swarad. But at the end of the day, it's not as simple. It's entirely dependent on Krishna's will. And if I'm going out of the room and someone curses at me and I'm feeling bad, then I'm not even surrendered to Krishna's will. So if the same people, if they think that they can skip processes and then get to it directly, they don't need a structured process. And if you tell them you're wrong, and they'll be like, I'm not wrong. And then that itself says that you're not even on that perfectional level where you don't need a practice. You need a practice. That's why you're getting hurt. You're not self-absorbed, you're not self-satisfied. Like Shukadev Goswami was, so he didn't need a practice. Right? So connecting it to what you were saying is that Srila Prabhupada, he very few instances he demonstrated symptoms of ecstasy in Kirtan. Other times he used to keep it unmanifested, a Lakshalingo. And that is what people will choose to. So that is a difference, that he acted as an acharya in this pastime of his with all of us. No other comments, questions? Yes, Prabhu.
Can I just like you mentioned about like choosing spiritual master, right? Even the Lord himself had to choose spiritual master. And in Lord Chaitanya, when he took initiation from Ishwar Puri, then there's a verse that mentioned that Kiva mantra dila Gosnai, Kiva mantra japila, japiti japita bhi pagal, because just by the mantra, just by the potency of the spiritual master, although the Lord does not need it, right? He's Lord Krishna himself, but just by the potency of the mantra and the spiritual master, he was able to manifest those symptoms, right? So, so in the end, someone may have those symptoms, but because of the potency of the spiritual master and the blessings, we may be able to manifest it in the future. That's how it is.
Yes. But that's the same thing. That is not in their control.
Exactly.
It's not their realm to. So thank you for mentioning that verse actually.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Thank you so much for today's class. My question is from the translation you mentioned from Bhagavad Gita 3.17. That it also mentioned here that son of Vyasa who travel over the earth disinterested and satisfied with himself.
Yes.
And in 3.17 it is also mentioned same thing. Who is satisfied in the self only, fully saturated, for him there is no duty. So as a Krishna conscious devotee, how do we take this as self-satisfied? Like, does it mean we are Atmaram or we should serve to please Krishna?
So even in Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna talks about a yogi being self-satisfied, then Bhagavad Gita doesn't end there. That's only a beginning. Recently, I was reading Bhagavad Gita. I'm just finishing the last chapter without purports. And the most beautiful chapter that I found that I could relate to was chapter 12, I think. It's devotional service. Before that, Krishna is talking about everything. Self-satisfied person. But in devotional service, he does mention that this is the highest. If I have to tell you that if anyone becomes that self-satisfied person who is Atmaram, they do not stay on that platform for long. Because they're tasting their qualitative taste. But it is incomplete because the ultimate swarup of the jiva is, or the duty of the jiva is to serve Krishna. So even if they taste, Mahaprabhu says this, Nitya Krishna Das. So even if a devotee is established to a self-realized platform, they get to service one way or another. Krishna makes sure. Shukadeva Goswami is self-realized here. He's self-satisfied. But who is he serving? He's glorifying Krishna through Bhagavatam then. Then he's not sitting there and asking Maharaj Parikshit to hold an asana or to merge into impersonal Brahman that King Dhritarashtra was instructed. So self-satisfied person is also instructing about devotional service. When Krishna in Bhagavad Gita talks about self-satisfied yogis, then after that he talks about devotion and surrender unto him all the time. So that is what we have to consider. If I could be making a pie, or if I'm instructing one of you guys to make a cake or something, and I say add some sugar, then add some vanilla essence, then add some flour, and then you mix it and then you bake it in the oven, and then you'll have your cake, voila. And then Rohan Prabhu or someone comes and they says, well, I've added the vanilla essence, so cake is done. But I'll be like, well, I have to have you make the entire cake. And you were like, but you asked me to add vanilla essence, right, Prabhu? So it's done, Prabhu. So Krishna says self-satisfied yogi, yes. But what next? The next step and the next step. Can we try to become a self-satisfied Atmaram person and through that get to devotional service? That is also a path that many devotees follow around the world across sampradayas. But Prabhupada is recommending us to be smart. That you don't have to go through all that. And telling from my personal experience, you don't have to go through all that. Prabhupada highlights the pitfalls of such thing also. Because once you really are able to relate to the impersonal ways of being an Atmaram, after that you can struggle in service also in the sense. In japa also. Because there will be tendency to lean into self-pleasure, into your own beingness, which helps for many moments. You try to meditate and you be there in the moment. But then you still come out of it. You're not able to stay there. But if you establish yourself directly into the devotional service platform, that is permanent. Because that is what the core of you really craves for. It is confirmed by Lord Shiva, who is considered to be the ultimate Atmaram. He also ultimately says that Vishnu Aradhana Param or something in different scriptures. And in Srimad Bhagavatam also, of course, Lord Shiva says. So by all the people who are self-realized, you have to listen to them. They will say that, okay, do devotional service. So I think that's our answer. Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining.